In this video, I'm going to cover a few important features of IRender nXt. Let's get started with depth of field. Depth of field makes your model look more realistic by adding depth and interest. Depth of field is a way to make your model look more realistic by giving the model more depth. It works similar to the way a camera works, only a certain portion of the rendered image is in focus. To get started, first click on the Setup Options button. Then, under the Render tab, you will see this area down here for depth of field. You set the focal distance to whatever the distance is between the camera and the portion of the model that you want to be in focus. The depth of field here adjusts how blurry the out of focus area gets. Okay, now let me render this and show you what it looks like. You can see how much more realistic this looks now. Only these first few chess pieces are in focus, and the further away these pieces are, the more out of focus they become. Depth of field is a very dramatic effect, one that adds interest and realism to your model. Using lighting channels speeds up work time and allows for better results. Lighting channels can really speed up your working time because there is less need to re-render your model, as well as make a better final image because you're able to fine-tune the lighting to get it to look just the way you want. First, of course, you'll need a model with lights in it. My model here has 3 different types of lights. It has a spotlight, a table lamp, and light coming from the sun. First, you need to set up lighting channels before you can render. And the fastest way to do that is to come up here and click on the Setup Options, then click on the Lights tab. Then at the bottom you will see this area here. Here you tell the software which type of lights are on what channel. I'm just going to leave it as is, but I do need to remember these settings because I'm going to need them in just a minute. Okay, once you've finished setting up the model, you can click Render. Okay, now from the Render dialog box here, click on the Save button, give it a name, and make sure to save the file type as a NXT image file. Click Save, then Open File. Then the rendering is opened inside of our NXT image editor. Then under the Channels tab, you can adjust each channel, which in turn adjusts the light assigned to that channel. So I can quickly adjust the brightness of the sun by moving these slider bars here. So in real time, I was able to turn down the intensity of the sun. I can do a similar thing with the spotlight. I can either turn it way up or all the way down. And as you can see, this is all happening in real time. And here's the final image. Lighting channels made it easy for me to have my rendering look just the way I want. The material editor from IRender nXt allows you to create or edit material textures. The material editor in IRender nXt is a simple yet powerful tool to edit or create materials. To use the material editor, simply hover over a material, right-click, and click on Edit Material. This is the material editor here. Here you can edit many settings having to do with a material, including its color, transparency. You can add bump maps, as well as glow. But most importantly, you can choose from different default reflective settings. Choose one of these and the material will take on those characteristics. It's as simple as that. With some quick clicks in the material editor, you can easily adjust any material to perfect your rendering. Material libraries are great because you have a large library of material textures at your fingertips, all of which have material attributes already defined. The thing that any great rendering needs are great textures. IRender nXt makes that easy for you. IRender nXt comes with a full library of hundreds of textures. In addition, the textures come loaded with material properties already defined for you. All of that makes it super easy to use textures with IRender nXt. Let me show you some of those libraries real fast. Click on the Materials Library button here in the IRender nXt toolbar. then tell it to load materials from the library. However, if you have created your own materials, you can access them through here. Okay, click on the Load Library button. Then inside the Materials folder here, you can see all these choices for material textures, ranging from car paints to glass to wood. There is also no need to apply any reflections, or in the case of glass, no need to add transparency or refraction, because all the IRender nXt textures come with material properties predefined to match the characteristics of that material. So I want to quickly place some brick here for you. So I'll go inside the masonry folder, click on brick, and then choose which kind of brick I want to place. I think I'll go with this one. Click open, and you'll see this image up here has changed to match the material I just picked. Click create and place. Then click just once on the surface you want to place the material. And there we go, that's it. So again, using textures with IRender nXt is a simple way to make your renderings look great. When rendering with indirect lighting, your model will be correctly illuminated and will make your rendering look more realistic. Indirect lighting is a subtle but important feature of any rendering you do. Indirect lighting is lighting that comes from reflective surfaces throughout the model, and not from a direct light source. So here's a model of a house I found on the 3D warehouse, and now I'm going to render it with indirect lighting, but first I need to activate it. So to do that, click on the Setup Options button. Then in the Presets tab, there's an area down here for indirect lighting. Make sure that either Standard or Gather is checked. Standard works best for interior scenes. Gather adds additional randomness, which is good for exterior scenes. I'm going to go with Gather, and we're done. It's that easy. Now let me show you what this model looks like when rendered with indirect lighting. Like I said, subtle but important. This model is bright and evenly lit. Indirect lighting is what gives this model more depth and detail, which in turn makes it look more realistic. The ability to create a panoramic image in IRender nXt is a unique feature, and is a great way to interact with a model and communicate space. The panorama feature in IRender nXt is very unique. It allows you to create a 360-degree image of your model. This is very handy for the interiors of, say, a large room or even a stadium. Making a panorama image may seem difficult, but as with all IRender nXt features, it's a breeze to do. Simply center the camera in the middle of your model, then in the IRender nXt toolbar, click on the Setup Options. Then, under the Render tab, make sure that Make Panoramic Image is checked. And we're already done. Now let me show you an example of a model that I have already rendered, plus the use of a third-party program. And here's an example of what you get. An interactive 360-degree image of this space. The model is now a very dynamic communication tool. I can spin around the room and even zoom in to highlight a detail in the room. All of this with the added benefits of lights and reflections that rendering this model with IRender nXt gives you. Thanks for watching. Make sure to visit our website at renderplus.com for additional information about IRender nXt and all the other great tools we offer.